bit, headed toward Florida, visit with my dad, and visit with Eric a little bit. I thought I'd give this chance, as long as I had an audience, to talk about it. My past in the numismatic industry. It's not really all that storied and all that wonderful, but it's something to talk about anyhow. I've gotten a little bit done, and I think I've probably got a little more than the average folk has. Hey, Frosty. Good afternoon to you. Well, afternoon where I am. I guess I should probably start when I was just a little tiny thing. Well, there's Jim Fletcher, Cat Morgenthaler, Wanda, Robert. Oh, hey, Robert, I forgot to tell you that I'm going to have to cancel for that game. I'm going to be in Florida. I'm having to go down and take care of my dad for a little while and go get him to the doctor so he can get his stuff done. And I'll be headed back home probably Friday or Saturday. But anyhow, all this mess started when I was about 5, 6 years old, around 1974, 75. I don't remember exactly what the year was, but I remember the event pretty well. My dad had an engagement with a friend of his at a driving range on West Sunshine Street in Springfield, Missouri. And I remember it was a place, it was, as best I can remember, it was on the north side of north side of the street. And I was there just riding with Dad, I guess. And not really sure why I was in the car, but I was. And Dad wanted to go to the driving range with his friend. Well, and his friend knew I was going to be there evidently because he brought a penny folder and a roll of wheat pennies to me. And this roll of wheat pennies that he brought to me kept me busy for most of the time that I was there. He just told me, you look for the date, you look for the little letter underneath the date. And if there's no letter, don't worry about it, you just put it in the space with no letter. But if there's a letter, you could put it in the space with that letter. That was all my instructions. And I was left alone for about an hour to play with this book and press these pennies into this folder. And that was the beginning of what I do. Like I said, it's about 1975. That would have made me 7 years old. And I took that book and had a good time with it. And Dad got me some more pennies to look through eventually. And so I looked through some more pennies. And I started popping them in my little book where I could. I remember I had a plastic and rubber mallet that I used to get them in there because it was hard to press into the holes. And this little mallet was a wooden handle mallet, and one side of it was red and the other side of it was yellow. I remember that. And I'd go through my dad's change jar, pull out pennies, and put those in the book. And I would check for new ones that were in better shape than the ones I had already. So I was already grading it, 6 years old. By the time I was 10, 11 years old, I kind of put those down just a bit for baseball cards. I probably spent a good 10 years on baseball cards being my priority, but I always looked through Dad's change jar. My mom would always pick up new pennies for me, or she'd let me go through her change purse. Well, it wasn't very long before I started finding out about silver. And so I started asking Mom if I could keep her silver dimes, and she was okay with that. And then I found a silver quarter, and she was okay with that. And before you know it, I was a world-class coin collector. I was trying to get everything there was in the entire world. And at the same time, I was trying to collect the history of baseball. And at the same time, I was collecting the world history in stamps. And I was collecting just about everything you could collect. And that lasted between the years of about, I'd say about 8 years old all the way up to about 14. When I was about 14 years old, I started realizing that I was never going to be rich enough to collect everything of everything. So I had to slow down. I went back to just doing pennies. And I had a bunch of nickels and dimes and other stuff at that point in time. I just kind of set that aside. Silver dollar book or anything like that. I never had any silver dollars. I wasn't that rich. But I had a bunch of pennies, a bunch of coins in general. And I had a whole bunch of stamps. I had bags and bags of world stamps, and I had one of those world stamp albums. And I had a friend that collected stamps, and he and I collected stamps together. Had fun with it. If you guys, I guess that'll tell you I'm in Florida. How old was I when that happened? It was 18 years old when I found out that yeah, it's not hail, it's just rain. That's when I found out that they were changing the pennies around. And when I found out they were changing the pennies around, I had a friend named Alan Junkin. Alan and I would go through all the pennies we could go through, seeing if we could find all the different kinds. We were looking for all 8 different kinds, because we didn't know at the time they were only going to make 7 of them. Well, on purpose anyway. But we were looking for all of them we could get. New pennies, all the new pennies we could find. And we were separating those things. And that one elusive one just kept jumping us. I mean, we couldn't find it. And then eventually I think we got a hold of a coin magazine or something, where there was an article about the 1982 pennies, and we finally found out they didn't make that 8th one. That's why we couldn't find one. And you have to remember, this was still at a time before the internet. We didn't have the internet. Hell, we didn't even have personal computers back then. You wanted information, you went to the library for it or looked in a newspaper. And there wasn't no such thing as phones that you could hold in your hand and look at and do filming on or anything like that. So we did the best we could looking at what we had. But it took us a long time to figure out that there were only going to be 7 different kinds of pennies for 1982, and we had them a number of times over and over again. We started keeping them in pill bottles, different kinds, because we didn't have coin tubes. Coin tubes were well beyond our ability at that time. There was eventually a time, though, that we started doing. Let's make sure I'm headed on the right road here. That we started doing coin tubes, and we started ordering coin tubes and stuff. And Brooklyn Gallery was one of the places we ordered from, and then there was a Pollard Coin and Stamp Supply Company that we ordered our stuff from too. And that's where we got our 2x2s, and it's where we got our coin tubes. And that was what we were after. We were after finding all the different 1982s we could and getting them all in tubes, because we knew that there was going to be something about them that would be valuable, because we had the 1960 Philadelphia small date, and we had the 1970 S small date as our guide, so we knew that there would be a scarce one in 1982 as well. Well, it turns out that it was basically the Philadelphia small dates, either the copper or the zinc, but they had to be in pretty good shape. We didn't know that at the time. Oh, nifty, a love bug. Yay. They have love bugs out right now. It is September, so it's that time of year. But we spent the better part of 1982 and 83 looking for that stuff. And then when 83, 84, 85 came around, we started hearing about the double dies, and a double die reverse on an 83, and they called it the 84 doubled ear, or D/D, which at that time meant double die. And we didn't really know what we were looking for at first. It took us about 6 months to find a picture of one. Once we found a picture of one, we knew what we were looking for. And I'll have you know that up until this very day, up until today, which is, what is it, the 11th of September, 2023, I have never found a 1984 doubled ear. I have never found a 1983 double die reverse. All the ones of those that I have ever had have been purchases and resales. They've never been change finds. I found a lot of 95 double dies. I found 97 doubled ears. I've found a lot of other double dies. I found 72s, but I have never found 83 double die reverse, and I have never found an 84 double die obverse, and I can guarantee you it's not from a lack of trying. I've probably been through 500,000 of those pennies, just in 83 and 84, and still never found one. So, yeah, when people go into their change and they find one of those, I get kind of helly-jelly, because I never did find one. I'm about to run through some heavier rain, so my sound might have a little bit of an issue getting through to you. I'll just, I'll yell it out a little louder just to see if you guys can hear me. But I can see the fog. In fact, I'm going to lift my glasses. No, I'm going to put it back down. Better. Let's see, 84, 85 rolled around. And that's when I found John Wexler's book called The Lincoln Cent Double Die. You can still get copies of it on a printing. But I got one of the original softcover perfect bound books. And that book flat amazed me that you could go through Lincoln Cents and find all these different double dies. I had no idea. I was only aware of the 55, the 72, and now the 83 and the 84. I didn't know there was a double die almost every year. So that really kind of got me into looking through a whole bunch of the other stuff. And over time, I started becoming interested in double die listings. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was just looking. And I was looking, and everything I found, I'd stick it in a tube. And eventually I had tubes full of what I thought were double dies. Well, come about 5 or 10 more years on down the road, there was another book put out by John Wexler, the authoritative reference on Lincoln Cents. And I got that and started looking through that book, and I saw this listing for what I believe it was a 1970S LCDDO number 43 or something like that. I thought, well, what the heck does that mean? And so I kind of used my noggin and figured out that must have been the 43rd different die listed for 1970S, and I just couldn't believe that there are 43 different double dies for 1970S. So I ended up making contact with Ken Potter, and I asked Ken Potter, I said, these numbers on these double dies, do you know what they mean? And he affirmed to me that meant that was the 43rd different die. And I said, well, where's the other 42? I said, I only see one of them listed. And he said, well, nobody's published all of them. Well, it was about 1998, and I'd had my head filled with the idea that I was going to go through and find and list and cross-reference every one of the known double dies, because there was nothing published on them. Absolutely nothing. You were really lucky. You could go through and find on eBay where there'd be like a number 27 out for sale, or a number 15 out for sale, and then you'd have to pick up the 15, pick up the 27, then eventually you'd end up with all of them if you were really paying attention. Well, that's where I met a gentleman by the name of Frank. His last name was Bauman. And Frank Bauman lived in Memphis, where I had lived at one point in time. In fact, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I had lived in Oklahoma at the time, and I think I may have already moved up to Missouri, but I was in the military, been in the military for a while, entered the military through Memphis, Tennessee, and I hadn't lived in Memphis in years, but I knew exactly where Frank lived once he told me. And he and I got into the habit of him finding double dies to sell, and he would send me an example of every one of the different double dies he had for sale. And some of them he'd tell me I could keep this one, and some of them he'd say I need this one back, and I'd photograph them, and then I'd send them back to Frank, the ones that he wanted me to send him back, and we just kept that chain going. and I would photograph coins and send them back, photograph coins and send them back, and I'd find out what Coneca listing they had or what Wexler listing they had, and then I started putting them all together. And I ran a thing called the Lincoln Log on the internet, and that was on my personal web space that I had. It was only about 20 megabytes that I had, and I didn't know what I was going to do once I ran out of that 20 megabytes, but I wasn't even close at the time. And I was making an HTML page for every single different die and linking them all on year pages. Well, that's still what some of them are doing, but it wasn't very long before I started running out of space, and I was sent a letter by a gentleman by the name of James Wiles, and he told me that the cross-reference information that I had was incorrect and I needed to pull it down. And so I kind of put one thing together with another thing and figured out that he was the Coneca guy and he didn't want me listing the Coneca stuff online because, well, that's kind of their domain. So I decided to pull it down, and I pulled down the all the pictures and everything, and this was on my personal web space at Panther Creek Internet Service in Springfield, Missouri. And I got a hold of a guy through the eBay chat, the eBay coin chat. He went by the name of Early Copper. Now, Early Copper was a guy that he was big into the half cents and the large cents and the Sheldon book and getting all the different Sheldon and Newcomb listings together and everything. And I thought, you know, he and I could probably do some good work together if we found somebody who would bridge the gap and do Indian head cents. We thought, well, maybe Rick Snow might want to do that. And so we got together, and he already had a domain name purchased, and it belonged to him, and he let me help him develop that into a website. It was called Coppercoins.com. And this was in 1999. About October of 1999, we had enough of it done that I opened it up, made it official that it was open. I think it was the 10th of October or 9th of October of 99. And I started adding to my penny listings on there, and he started adding some stuff about his large cents. And he was trying to get Tom Reynolds to help him with that part, and didn't really succeed very much. Well, first one thing comes to another, and we got up to about 2000. In the year 2000, I started learning more about HTML and learning that HTML wasn't really going to carry me through all my web development, that I needed database support. And I had a gentleman teach me a little bit about MySQL using PHP. And those are programming languages, but he taught me a little bit about that, and then I decided, you know what? After this little experiment that he took me through and teaching me how to do that kind of thing, I needed to learn more about it. And that's what I needed to base my knowledge on, because I knew that was going to carry me through to the next century when it came to website development. Well, through my learning about pennies, through my learning about coins, through my learning about putting them on the internet, I decided that I needed to go to school, so I did. And I started working on an associate's degree in applied science using internet web development as my basis, as my backbone. And my school project was basically developing Coppercoins.com into a database-driven website. And so that's exactly what I did, and that's what you guys have today. It's Coppercoins.com based on MySQL written in PHP. Well, over the years, a lot of things have changed about security, about internet security, about hacking and all that kind of thing. And a lot has been added, changed, done, and developed to speed up the language, to get better processors, to get better servers. I think I've changed servers like 3 or 4 different times in the last 12, 15 years. But Coppercoins now operates on a liquid web server out of Lansing, Michigan. And some of the code has been updated a little bit, but it really needs to be rewritten from scratch. It's old code that still operates slowly. It's based on 1995 technology, but it still works, and it's still there, and it's still free. But that's how Coppercoins came to be. Now, 1999 rolls around, we put Coppercoins out. 2000 rolls around, and I've got Coppercoins rolling strong, and I'm working off of eBay selling things and working on Coppercoins, putting the information together. And at that time, my mother and I were working on a little hobby we had together with stamps. My name on eBay was CD Stamps, because my mother's initials are CD as well. And we worked on CD stamps for quite some time together. And over a period of time, I decided I was going to sell more coins than stamps. So I took the stamps part out, and I was just CD on. I was just CD on eBay. Then let's see. I'm gonna guess. I'm about to get stopped, I think. Nope. I just saw the speed limit was 55, and I just passed a couple of cops sitting in the middle of the road. And I was going 65. Now the speed limit's 60. Now it's 50. Jeez, I must be running into a town. But anyhow, went through all the time that I did just listing stuff on eBay and working through it that way. And then 2004 is when some shaking and rolling started happening. I found and bought the domain name lincolncent.com, and that's when I started really putting things together and starting to sell coins, selling Lincoln Cents and lincolncent.com. I programmed it myself. I put it together, and I had it going okay for a few years. And I just knew it wasn't the most efficient way of running it, so I kind of pulled it down and changed my tune a little bit. I just haven't really ever had time to really build it back up, but I'll get into that a little bit later. But it was 2005, 2006, and I decided to start working on, or actually 2004 is when I worked on my first book. It was in early March of 2004. I found out that I was going to get a table at the upcoming show in May in Oklahoma City. And it was actually the guy who was running the show was named Scott, and he was the guy who eventually started APMEX. But he was with Enid Coin, or not Enid, he was with, I can't remember the name of the town right now. Geez, my cousin lives there. It's just north of Oklahoma City, Edmond Coins. And he ran Edmond Coins at the time, and I went in there and I kind of looked through their stock. And that was before APMEX ever came around. But let's see, what did I do? I sat down and I started working on the idea of writing some pamphlets. I was going to write some little pamphlets about coins, make them about 10, 12 page pamphlets. And I was going to write a number of different ones about the different classes of hub doubling, about repunchment marks, about stuff like that. And I was going to put these pamphlets out and print a couple of dozen of each of them and put them out on my table that I was going to get at the Oklahoma City show and sell pamphlets of information about coins. And that was going to be my money maker. That was going to be how I was going to, you know, make something at the show, make my travel expenses and everything. Well, about the 15th of March rolled around, and I couldn't figure out how to split the information the way I wanted it to. And I just kept writing. And before I knew it, what I had thought was going to be a few pamphlets, and make sure that everybody got a hold of all the information that I could give them regarding necessarily the end-all be-all book, but I wanted it to be the book that I wanted to read. I wanted it to be a book that I wanted to gain my own information, a chance to get up to the show in Oklahoma City. So I carried the book with me to Oklahoma City, along with where people could order the other books once I got them back out of binding, because the other books were in binding. But I knew I had about 1,300 copies altogether. And that was my first edition book, released in May of 2004. And I went through the summer of 2004 selling that book and getting my ducks in a row to put out another edition. And in August of 2004, I went to the ANA World's Fair of Money in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, with a trunk full of books and a one of those roller cases over, like an overnight or a check bag. And every day for the show, I would fill that check bag up with books and tote them around the show and talk to dealers about my book and talk to anybody who might want to buy a few copies to sell. And I was offering them at a wholesale price. And I don't know how it happened, but a guy caught up with me. And I had talked to the ANA people about sitting down at the ANA table for a scheduled signing so people could drop by and have me sign the book. And I think I had maybe 2 or 3 people come by for me to sign the book that day. But one of the more important people to come by was named Bart Crane. And this guy, he worked for what was called Xyrus Press. I didn't know much about it, but I talked with the guy, and he said that they would like to do the next edition of my book. And I was like, well, that's great, because I was kind of thinking about doing one myself. So he and I worked together. In the middle of 2005, we published the second edition, and that's the one most of you would have. It's the one that's got "Find Treasure in Your Pocket" on the front cover. And that book, I had planned on redoing it again, but I just never did. The reason for that is because I got too busy with my job and everything. At the time I published that book, I did not have a job, but I was hired at a coin company to start working around December of 07. From December of 07 until about 2015-16, I was pretty much completely under the thumb of a working job, and didn't have a lot of time for writing and other stuff like that. So let's see what happened next. That was 2005. 2006, they invited me to come by and teach about digital photography, because they knew I had methods of being able to take pictures of coins with inexpensive cameras and inexpensive lenses, and using free software to edit pictures of coins, and they came out almost as good as what was in the auction catalogs. Well, they were kind of impressed with that, so they knew that I was into helping people work through inexpensive processes of photographing coins. So that became my teaching tool, and I taught for 2 weeks each year at the ANA Summer Seminar in Colorado Springs for 3 years, and kind of got known amongst a number of the other numismatic writers and numismatic people, because we were all instructors in the classes and we hung out together. But that's where I met Rick Snow in person. That's where I met James Wiles in person. That's where I met oh man, I met a bunch of people there. J.P. Martin, Bill Fiva. Let's see. I met a lot of people. And that's also where I met Ken Brissett. Well, Ken Brissett brought me into knowledge with Dennis Tucker, because I was an artist and I had been drawing some pictures of some of the people who designed our coins, starting with Victor Brenner. And Dennis Tucker called me and said, you know, we're working on a series of Red Book volumes, and if I give you a series, can you start doing drawings of the different designers of those series so we can put them in the books? And I thought, well, yeah, I can do that. And so he gave me a schedule of different books they were looking for, and one of them was Rick Snow's book, so he wanted me to draw Longacre for that. I got a picture of Longacre done, and it went in that book. And then I was at the Baltimore show one December. That was in December of '05. And I got a tap on the shoulder, and I turn around, and it's Dave Bowers. And Dave asked me if I could draw a picture of Flanagan for him because he was doing a book on the quarters. And I said, sure. Do you have a picture of him? He said, well, no, but I'll get my people at the Smithsonian to send you a picture of him. I said, okay, that'll work. So I got an envelope in the mail, had a nice 8x10 picture of John Flanagan, and I drew that picture, and I sent it over to Whitman, and they got it to Dave Bowers, and he looked at it and said he liked it, and it went in his book, and that kind of got my numismatic artist career type thing going. I thought that was kind of neat. Well, 2006 was when I taught my first class on, I think it was 06. It was when I taught my first class on digital photography in Colorado Springs at the A&A. And one of the customers of my first class was none other than Don Kagan. Don Kagan operates a pretty good, hefty numismatic firm over in Tiburon, California, which is north end of San Francisco Bay. And he and his wife, Candace, took the class, and they learned a little bit from the class, and they paid attention, and they were great students. But when he got back to California, he decided, it'd just be that much better if I just invited Chuck out here to help me do the photos for my book. So I came out there and spent a week out there, and every day I'd go in and he'd hand me another box of coins to take pictures of, and I went through and I photographed every one of the gold pattern coins. And now gold pattern coins doesn't necessarily mean they're made of gold. A lot of times pattern coins were made out of test material, or I even saw some that had just foil on them. But they had white metal coins. There were also gold coins. But I took pictures of a lot of unique pieces of territorial gold and territorial gold patterns for Don Kagan in his book on gold. And so I ended up, at that point in time, and I'm not really sure whether it's still the same now, but at that point in time in late 2005, 2006, I believe I was the only person in numismatic history to write books on coins, to have art credits in books on coins, and to have photo credits in books on coins. And I'd had my information in one form or another was placed into books on coins at least 15, 20 different times by then. And I was getting quite a little niche cut out for myself in the coin business. I didn't really deal in coins that much. I mean, I had a website where I sold coins, and I sold some coins on eBay and whatnot. But my, yes, Chris, my number one thing back then, the bonus of my hobby, was that I was able to use my talents, use my brains to put information together about coins. And it wasn't all about selling coins. It wasn't all about buying coins. Well, in 2007, I started numisphoto.com, and there had been other people after that had taken on the idea. They basically used my idea and came up with their own. But I had a tent that I had built out of, it was a portable tent that I had built out of PVC, and my mother had helped me sew the pole slots in it and everything, and it was basically curtains that went around a box of PVC that I designed myself that my photo stand went into, and I had a cover on it, so it controlled the lighting on the inside of it. And I had a photo stand with lighting and the professional ability to take good photos of coins with a nice DSLR camera that was a highly expensive tool back then. This was back when most people didn't have good cameras for digital purposes, and cell phones most of them didn't really have cameras much at all. And I set up at one of the major A&A shows. I think it was the '07 show in that would have been Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I set up at that show and I was doing photos of people's coins. You bring coins by, I do the photos in high resolution, and I would burn them onto a CD-ROM right there at the show and give them to you, and you could take them home and use them on the internet however you wanted to. And I was taking pictures of some real high-end coins. I remember taking a picture of a 1937 D3-legged buffalo in MS66 PCGS grade. And I was taking pictures of other really rare things. There was a $10 Mormon gold coin from Utah that Don Kagan had one of them. There's only 2 of them known. Well, during that show, I had a guy bring by the other one, so I photographed both of the $10 Mormon gold coins. I have photographed Roman finish, Roman finish proof Indian gold. I've photographed the 1792 half deem. I've photographed uncirculated large cents going back into the 1700s. Oh wow, cool. An FS 511. Remind me what 511 is. I don't remember what 511 is. That the trying to think. Is that the D with the S between the 1 and 9 of the date? Yeah, okay, 10M. Okay. The FS numbers still escape me sometimes because they've never actually been what I used as my primary system. That's awesome. I'll get you more 54Ds though. You look for a half a roll of 54Ds and that's not what you got, so we'll get you filled in. But the photography business took me quite a ways in being able to get better known among the numismatists of the business. And that's kind of what got me, that and my programming abilities are what kind of got me my job in Florida that I started in late 2007. Let's see. What have I missed? Yeah, late 2005, early 2006 is when I did my first portrait, and that was of Victor Brenner. And that was so I could try to put it in my next edition of Looking Through Lincoln Sensible. That never happened, but that portrait took me into the business of making prints of the artwork that I did and selling the prints of the artwork that I did. And, oh, come on, really? Why are you in the left lane? I'm going way too slow. But anyhow, I was a member of the PCGS chat board at that time, and I asked around about what designers people wanted to see done, and I got a list of them, and I started working on that list. And I got 8 of them done before I quit working on them. But the work that I was doing with that and getting back with Whitman on them, and Dennis Tucker, the publisher of Whitman, that ended up getting me the position of drawing the portrait of Flanagan for the quarter book. And then Whitman came back to me and said, you know, we're getting really close to the 60th edition of the Red Book. And I said, okay. And he said, you think you can do a portrait of Dick Yeoman and Ken Brissett together for us? And I said, sure, get me pictures and I'll draw from them. So they did. They got me pictures of the 2 gentlemen, and I drew a side-by-side portrait of the 2 of them. And I turned that portrait back in digital form for them to use in the book. And then I got a call from them asking me if I would mind making that into a framed, matted and framed work of art, and presenting it to Ken Brissett at the A&A in Denver. And so I was like, well, yeah, sure, I can do that. They paid my way out to the ANA, and I was involved in the main unveiling of the new 1947 remake Red Book, and the leather-bound collector's edition that year had a 15-page spread on the authors of the book, and there was my artwork tucked right in the middle of all that, and it was also on the inside of the back of the dust jacket for the remake hardbound book of the 1947, the original Red Book. And what I didn't know they were going to do was they used my artwork to make medals of the portrait for the 60th anniversary of the Red Book, and they were selling those at the show. I even had a couple of people, they had annex, put them in holders, and I had a couple of people come up to me at the show and ask me to sign their medal, because I was the artist of the obverse side of the medal, which I didn't even know that was going to happen. But I was able to get up in front of a crowd of people standing next to Ken Brissett and talk about how my aunt had given me a garage sale find of a 1969 Red Book when I was a little kid, and that was my first price guide in coins. And you'd have to pinch me to make me believe that I was actually standing in front of a crowd of people standing right next to Ken Brissett introducing an anniversary edition of the Red Book, but that's exactly what I did. And when I presented that drawing to Ken took it home and he hung it in his house in a special section of his house that was his own special reading room. And the following summer, when I went out to teach digital photography, Ken had told me that he had hung that picture in his house, and I told him, that's really cool, I'd love to see that sometime. Well, we had a get together for the instructors before the week was to start at a tea house in Colorado Springs, and Ken Brissett was there. He came up to me and said hello, and he asked me if I was serious about seeing that drawing hanging in his house, and I said absolutely, I was serious about that. And he said, well, when we get done here, why don't you just follow me? I'm going to go home afterwards and we can go take a look. And I said, okay. that would be an honor. So that's exactly what happened. I drove over there after we got done with our meet and greet for the instructors of the ANA Summer Seminar. I drove over to Ken Brissett's house and got my camera out, went into his house, and he took me into a room that was a 60s retro room. It had, I remember it had two chairs, and it had one of those floor height ashtrays in between the chairs. Now, Ken didn't smoke, but that was just part of the decor of the room. The old ashtrays that you remember seeing when you were a little kid. And the room had either blue or purple shag carpet in it. I mean, it was very Jetsons looking in there. And there were two big bookcases. And two big bookcases were loaded floor to ceiling with books. And Ken explained to me that those bookcases contained only books that he either wrote or that he edited, and nothing else. That the rest of his numismatic library was down in the basement. And I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And then he showed me exactly where the two drawings of him were hanging on his wall. One of them was a 1976 caricature done of him by a political artist, and the other was my drawing of him and Dick Yeoman together. And I thought that was just, I mean, that was the biggest exhilaration that a person could get, was to have Ken Brissett hang your artwork on his wall almost exclusively. But he took me on a tour of the rest of his it was as big as the ANA library. Huge. A lot of stuff in there. And I met his wife, Roberta. I think his name was, no, I don't remember what his wife's name was now. I think it was Roberta. But he and I had a pretty good time, and I knew when my welcome was up, and about an hour later I left. And that was probably one of the biggest highlights of my entire experience in numismatics, was being able to go inside Ken Brissett's house and look at the artwork that I had done hanging on his wall. After that, let's see, that was in 06. I did, 07's when I started working full-time at my other coin job. I did that until 2017. And then after that, I started drumming up my work and my inventory and my business and everything. I've been buying coins all through that period of time. Ever since I was a kid, I started buying coins. And I was buying them by the box. I was buying them by the closet. I was buying them by the roll, buying them by however I could get them. And well, come 2018, I was bursting at the seams, ready to start selling. And that's exactly what I did. I started working on putting stuff together for my website, selling stuff on my website. 2016 and 17 were big years with me selling on Facebook. And Facebook kind of brought me into the direction of what I was going to end up doing next. And that started in early 2019. I started doing auctions on YouTube. And that's where my current number 186 started. It was 185 shows ago doing auctions on YouTube. Many of you know the remainder of my history in coins beyond that point, because many of you have known me since then. But that is where I started and where I finished as far as coins are concerned up to the present day. A few of you have asked since I have come aboard here, where am I headed? I'm headed to Florida to visit with my dad and take him to the doctor, and then I've got some work that I'm going to do with Eric before I return back home. I'll be returning home on or before the weekend, and I should be there in time to run a reveal show on Monday and to run an auction on Tuesday. So this week I'm off, next week I'll be back. I have all of my reveal rolls with me so that I can do them while I'm in Florida. And well, that's all I know. So now I think I might shut up and wait and see if there's any questions for me before we're going to get knocked off eventually, because I'm driving on kind of a backwoods highway going through Florida now. But if anybody has anything, any comments or questions about all the stuff I've been talking about for the last hour, go ahead and ask now. It's a good time for it. I don't even know exactly where I am, but I know you guys brought me through a whole lot. I don't pay attention to a whole lot. I mean, of course I pay attention to the road and I'm watching what's going on, but I don't pay attention to the boredom when you're in conversation, because you're not bored. And when you guys have me in conversation in one of these chats, it's like, here I am, and we just chit chat, and I don't really notice time go by. And before you know it, I'm halfway through Florida. My dream coin, are you talking about a coin that's already been minted that I want to own? In that case, it would probably be, I really don't know. I'd like to have a nice red 1955 double die. I'd like to have a real nice 1917 double die. Those are ones that I've not ever obtained. It would give me the willies to find to manage to find a nice copy of the 1983 double die reverse in coins that I'm just going through, and not like a B roll or something, just coins I'm kind of fanning through, just looking through them, and find a '83 double die reverse. That would be really, really cool, because I've been looking for that for a long time. I designed that is my artwork that was put on it. So I guess, and my signature. I guess it's my design, but put out by Whitman in 2006 to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Red Book. And I didn't have anything to do with the manufacture of it. I don't really know how many were made. I do know I haven't seen one since then. I mean, I'm sure there's some of them out there available. You might even find them on eBay, I'm not sure. 1933 Double Eagle? Not really. I like St. Gaudens's artwork. I love his artwork a lot. You know, when it comes to the Double Eagles, rather than have the last year of Double Eagle, I would prefer to have a 1907 Ultra High Relief Double Eagle. And that would be the one that would be the Double Eagle that St. Gaudens would have designed, and it would be the one that I would want to have. That's kind of like saying I would rather have a 1909 Lincoln Cent than to have a 2023 Lincoln Cent, which not only because of value, but also because that 1909 is the original artist's design, and they've changed it a lot since then. So let's see. Why do some of the 1960 dies have a 0 with the notch at the bottom? Not sure I really know what you're talking about right off. Are we talking about the 0 and the date? That could be a hub that was damaged, like the 1956. 1956, I'm familiar with a bunch of them with the 6 that have the notch at the bottom, and that's from hub damage. I know of the master die doubling for 1960, where parts of In God We Trust have doubling on them, but that's pretty much all of the large date coins have that same doubling on them. You can see it on the E of we, especially. That's master die doubling you find in 1960, and then 1961 there's a different master die doubling where you see doubling on the top of the O in God. But yeah, they're all basically the same thing. They're master die doubling, or damage placed onto a master die or onto a master hub, or one of the working hubs even, where the fact that it was placed into the design so early in the process, it was repeated multiple times, way too many times to really have any collectible value. The coin cards. I went to someone whose opinion I value very deeply, and he told me to hold off on really discussing in depth the plan for the cards or showing the cards in any more depth than I already have before I can get a patent applied for and get a trademark applied for and get that paperwork in process, and then I can start releasing the coin cards. I've got the basics of the design done. I still have to finish the first series of cards, and then once I finish that and can get the patent and the trademark applied for, then I can start actually releasing them. Part of the problem with that is that a patent and a trademark, they're two separate things that you file with the government, and it costs almost $1,000 to do both. And so I have to go through that official process prior to just jumping out and releasing the cards, because I really don't want someone else taking my idea with a lot of money and running off with it and leaving me in the dust. I want to have control over who can produce these cards and who can publish them. So that's what's going on with the cards. It's not backburnered for me. If I could release them tomorrow, I would. It's backburnered for legal reasons. But that's really all I can say at this point. I've got the works underway. I've got graphics done. I've got card designs done. I've got marketing schemas laid out. I know what I'm going to do. I know when I'm going to do it. Well, okay, I know at what stage I'm going to do it. I don't know when that stage is going to come about. So it could be October before I can get into it. I will have to let you guys know that I'm still kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and it could be at pretty much any given time this internet will give out on me, and when it does, I'm just going to shut down, because I know there are points during this drive where the internet kind of gives up, and I'm only about 25-30 miles away from there right now. Yes, there will be autograph cards also. I've already got that set up with people, but I can't really talk much about that program until I get the whole thing patented as it's going to be, so nobody else can steal the idea and take a patent on it. So it's going to be a utility patent for doing the cards, and I've already got it. But yeah, that's part of the plan. As for a detailed update, I can't necessarily give a detailed update, because at this point the idea and the name and everything else are not protected to the extent that they would need to be protected before I could start letting the public know what's going on. I kind of jumped the gun earlier, and what you guys do know is all I can allow you to know at the present time. And trust me, if I could be dancing on the ceiling yelling to the entire world about my cards, I'd be doing it, because I'm excited about the idea. It's only backburnered for legal reasons, not because I'm giving up on it or anything. Let's see. Until somebody asks another question, I'll talk about my next show experience. Looks like the weekend of the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th of October, whenever exactly that is, I don't know. I can't remember the exact date, so I gave you the round dates. It's going to be a Friday, Saturday show in Greenville, South Carolina. That's where my next big show experience will be. Already starting to make plans to go to the Fun Show in January in Orlando. So if anyone has the possible opportunity to go there, I am inviting everyone to a group dinner meet and greet where we can all get together. I don't have the venue laid out yet, and when I do, I will be where you guys will let me know that you will be at the show, and you will be able to attend the dinner for the Coppercoins family. I'm hoping to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 people there. We'll just have a big old Coppercoins get together. We won't be celebrating any special anniversaries. Maybe, well, it would be the 20th anniversary, roughly the 20th anniversary since the publication of my first book. So maybe we can, I don't know if I can make it by then or not. So that's what won't be available anywhere else or any other time. Yeah, the video is choppy. My internet is choppy. I'm in the backbone of Florida right now, and if I go out and it tries to me out, I'm just gonna shut things down and move on, because I know how hard it can be to keep a internet. Home, sissy, as if you're home. I'm not too awful far away from driving through your area. Yeah, we are about to lose me. I'm pretty sure. Been on here for just over an hour now, and I'm lucky to have been able to get in the hour that I did. If anybody in the future happens to see or absorb the information in this video and has any questions, you can contact me directly, cd@coppercoins.com. That's my email address. If you have any further comments or questions about what's going on, or about what I've got going on, or what I can tell you about the card program or anything else, I'm always open to an email, and I'm always open to being chased down if you guys don't get a response to your first email. I don't get angry because you send another one. A lot of times it just reminds me that I forgot to reply to the first one. I am a pretty busy guy and I do a lot of stuff, but I'm not too busy for my people. All of you people are very important to me, and anything and everything you want to say, ask, or find, or get, I'm always going to be there for you. This is what I do for a living. This is pretty much my life. So you guys are a big part of my life, and I appreciate every one of you. And I guess that's all I have for now. I just want to make sure I squeeze that in before I get kicked off the internet. And if Sissy's still out there, and if you're home, if you happen to be in the area, we could stop someplace real quick, because I'm on my way down, and I'll be passing through your area in probably 30 minutes. So if you happen to still be on listening, you can let me know. Let's see. I got nothing else. Anybody's got any questions I can try to squeeze in an answer for, you can go ahead and ask now. While I do have good internet. I'm just about to drive through Gainesville right now. So I'm at a point where I've got a little better internet because I'm around the town. In fact, I got a cell tower right there next to me. So I should have good signal for at least in the 10 minutes. And gas is a dime cheaper a gallon here than it is in Georgia. Just remember that, folks. If you're traveling through Georgia into Florida, wait till you get to Florida to get your gas. It's cheaper in Florida. It's also cheaper in South Carolina. I don't know what's up with Georgia right now. Georgia's gas prices are expensive. Sherm is not with me. He's probably sleeping, but he's at home. The reason I was going to bring him last week is because my wife was already gone from the house, and I would have been leaving him by himself. I couldn't do that, so I was going to bring him with me in order to keep him comfortable, keep him with somebody. And as it turned out, I didn't make it because of the storm. And because of the storm, and because of having to take him through an area that had just had the storm come through, then I had no option to come, so I didn't. And I was planning on coming a little bit later, and then my dad calls me and says, "I've got no ride to get my procedure done. Can you come get me and take me?" And I said, "Yep, I sure can." So I'm driving to Florida now to take my dad to the doctor tomorrow. Sissy, are you home or are you out? Are you out and about? If you're home today, I could stop in your area for a bit. You want to meet up? I just saw it 5 miles from Ocala right now. Well, you being in California isn't exactly going to help me visit you here, but I could stop by and check on your plants outside or something if you wanted me to. I need to be delivering right now. I do have a few boxes at home. They're boxes that have not yet been mailed to customers who have not yet paid their invoices. Yeah, 360 a gallon in the middle of Georgia. That's what I found out. No, it's okay, sissy. I don't need that. Hello, Eric. That's where I'm eventually headed today. I'll be sleeping in Eric's office tonight. I'm nearing Gainesville, Eric, just so you know. I'm not a very good long-haul driver. If I tried working for Sissy and driving her truck, I'd get fired because I only drive about 4 hours, and then I got to stop for about a half an hour, and then I drive for another 4 hours, and I stop for a half an hour, and this is a 12-hour drive, so I have to stop twice on this drive. It ends up taking me 12 hours to do a 10 3/4 hour drive because I stop for 30 minutes a couple of times, and if I don't do that, I would probably end up in trouble. So I do the best I can to get myself all the resting I need so I don't have any problems. And my last stop for resting was somewhere in Georgia. I stopped somewhere in South Carolina, and then I stopped somewhere in Georgia. Somewhere near Brunswick, I think. But anyhow, I didn't see any real damage. I had expected to see a lot of trees down and stuff like I did when I came down after Ida, but I didn't. Just not really much of anything damaged. I saw a couple of branches down and whatnot, but I don't even know that was because of the hurricane. I'm south of where the hurricane went through now, so I'm rather confident that we've got a smooth sail all the way through. Hurricane Lee is still out in the Atlantic, and at present time it's basically headed straight toward my front door, but the weathermen or the weather officials are rather confident that it's going to make a sharp right turn and go straight up to Canada, so I'm not worried about it. Oh, well, Wanda, if you ask, yes, it's one of them. I've got a few others that are, they went unpaid the day of the auction, and I sent the day after the auction, and we sent everything that had been paid and that I could do postage for. But beyond that, I think there were probably 4 or 5 packages that haven't gone out because of unpaid invoices. Yeah, Sissy, I don't think it's going to be really all that bad anyway, because even if the hurricane does hit us, it's going to be a Cat 1 or a Cat 2. It's not going to be that big of a deal. But, because I don't think it's going to hold Cat 3 status all the way into North Carolina if it does hit. But all of the models, including the European model and the American model, are carrying it north up toward Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. And so I don't think North Carolina has anything to worry about except like riptide right at the beach. Maybe a little bit of wind damage, maybe right on shore. Yeah, but it looks like it's going straight up to Nova Scotia, so I'm not going to worry about it. Eric, if you wouldn't mind, sir, I brought my orders ready to go on eBay. If you could go in and print packing slips and postage for those orders, the postage is a 12-inch by 6-inch by 1-inch flat, weighing about 5 or 6 ounces per package. If you did 10 ounces for each of them, 12 inches by 6 inches by 1 inch at 6 ounces per, that would be beautiful. And I'll be able to package all that stuff up and get it sent shortly after I get there. That way all of my mail will be taken care of. I think I've got probably 6 or 7 orders on eBay. Hello, Jaden. Jaden 12, New York. I welcome you to my channel. We're just kind of doing a chit chat session now. Been getting a little more into chit chat sessions lately, where we can just talk. If you go back to the beginning of this particular broadcast, you will see that I kind of go through the entire history of my numismatic career and talk to people about what I've done since the beginning back in 1975. But I'm just talking now until we run out of internet. When we run out of internet, I'm going to unplug it and stop. That will probably happen sooner than later. But let's see. Is there anything else I wanted to include while I was on? Oh, the next auction that I do, I have created a tool where I can go in and enter all of the conditions of all of the different coins that are in an album, any coins, any album of Lincoln Cents, and it will spit out what the retail value of that folder is, of that folder, that card, that album, whatever. So now I've got an accurate pick on what the retail value of any grouping of coins in a collection have, so that I can sell way below retail value and know that I'm selling way below retail value. So I, for instance, have one that has a roughly $490 value in it that I will be starting for auction at way below that. And you will know what the overall retail value is for that collection before you even consider whether or not you want to bid on it. And I will have at least 10 sets, partial sets, nearly complete sets of Lincoln Cents up for bid on the next auction next Tuesday. So for those of you who have a hankering to bid on a penny board full of pennies, 11 by 14 board, or a Dansko album that have pennies in it, or a Whitman folder with pennies, or a Dansko folder. I've got a lot of that kind of stuff, and the Whitman classic albums. I'm going to be pulling it all out, and I'm going to be figuring up the value of each one of those, and I'm going to start them around 50 to 60% of retail value. And 50 to 60% should give you plenty of room for budget to fill the set, for budget to upgrade the coins in the set, make a great gift to, and for anybody who's beginning in coins that you know would need a set of Lincolns from which they can start. I'm going to be putting a lot of them up for auction. We're talking a lot being $5,000 to $10,000 worth. So that's going to happen over a period of 2 or 3 weeks. Let's say I still got a whole lot of rolls. Still got a lot of rolls to go through. I've got not as many singles as I usually have. I'm kind of starting to run a little bit low on singles. So what we're going to be doing in the near future is more rolls than anything else. More rolls and just basically arbitrarily mixed groupings like we had a couple of weeks ago. That was a fun show to be able to just chuck stuff into a bag and say, you're going to get this, you're going to get this, you're going to get this, and then you start bidding on it. And that's going to happen at least 2 or 3 more times, because I've got that much more stuff to go through. Stacks and stacks of albums, though. And so stay tuned to the channel, because that's going to happen. Let's see. Reveals, got a lot of rolls to do reveals on. And a lot of the rolls that we have to do reveals on are some pretty nice early rolls. I have a 1935D original roll to do a reveal on. Those are not going to be cheap. There. That's telling me that I'm back online. And that is probably my sign from the internet gods that it's time to sign off and time to move on for now and get back with you guys later when I have the opportunity. So I am going to, you can't find email or the PayPal. Okay, there's no PayPal invoice. There's never going to be a PayPal invoice from me. I don't do PayPal invoices anymore. I will resend the emails as soon as I can to those who have unpaid invoices. but I have a stack going back about 4 months. I have a stack of nearly $4,000 in unpaid invoices that I need to get sent out again. I've got a lot of people who haven't found their way around or haven't looked for it, but I've got a lot of invoices that are out. Wanda, you've only got the one, but some other people have multiple invoices out. But I will try to get that all straightened up. Be watching for an email to come directly from me, cd@coppercoins.com. I'll send you links to the invoices so that you can get in there and get them taken care of. That's all I got for now. We're probably going to get cut off again anytime soon. So I'm just going to go ahead and say goodbye while I can, and I'm not rudely interrupted for a impromptu goodbye. So you got deals. All right, talk to you later.